Hello well-wishers and welcome to my channel Aspiring Minds. In today's video, we are going to decode the line-by-line meaning, stanza-wise explanation and a detailed analysis of the poem Ode to the West Wind written by P.B. Shelley. So grab your virtual seats and let's begin. Now before we proceed with the line by line or the stanza wise meaning of the poem, I want you to understand what the poem is going to be all about. Now Ode to the West Wind was written by Shelley in the year 1819, and this was a period when he was facing a political and a personal conflict within himself. However, you see that this poem is still regarded as one of his masterpieces. Now the central message of this poem revolves around the dual nature of the west wind. That is, the west wind exhibits two qualities. That is, it exhibits the fact that it is a destructive force, and at the same time wind can also regenerate, bring about rebirth, revival. It can be something that brings about a positive change. So you can say that this west wind, having dual nature, has both its positives as well as negatives. Now Shelley uses the wind as a symbol for both the power of nature to bring about change and renewal, and at the same time it acts as a reflection of his own personal desire for social and political change that he wanted to bring around him. So we'll see how this poem captures the tension between the destructive aspects of the wind and at the same time the potential of the wind to bring about rebirth and renewal. So now, having understood that, let's see what the poem is all about. P.B. Shelley, full name being Percy Bysshe Shelley, lived between the years 1792 to 1822. He was a famous romantic poet who was known for bringing new inventions to poetry, right? He was married to someone known as Mary Shelley, and she was the author of a famous novel that is quite popular called Frankenstein. Now Shelley's works often explore the themes of nature, imagination and the human condition. So what are the main things that the poet tells in stanza 1? The speaker addresses the west wind. He begins by saying, "Oh wild west wind," and he is describing the west wind as the breath of autumn. The wind is portrayed as something that cannot be seen. However, it still has a visible impact in the form of the dead leaves which are driven away, as if there are ghosts which are moving the leaves from one place to another. Next, we see the colors of the leaves, that is yellow, black, pale and hectic red, suggest the various stages of decay and disease, which is similar to a pestilence-stricken multitude. All these colors show a transition of how decay takes place during the month of autumn. The wind is personified as being a charioteer, guiding the seeds to their wintry rest, awaiting the arrival of spring. That is, it is only when the seeds take rest now they are ultimately going to bloom up in the month of spring. The mention of the azure sister of spring refers to the clear blue sky, and the clarion call represents the announcement for the coming of spring. The west wind is also characterized as being a wild spirit because it is both a destroyer as well as a preserver. So you see, from stanza 1 itself, it starts emphasizing this dual nature. The plea for the wind to hear reinforces the speaker's desire. He has a wish, a desire for transformation, for change. In stanza 2, the wind's impact on the sky is described with clouds which are similar to decaying leaves falling from the heavens. The tangled boughs or branches of heaven and ocean bring out the image of a chaotic and interconnected element of nature, how there's utter chaos because of the wind blowing. The wind is associated with the angels of rain and lightning, emphasizing the role of creation of storms. I told you that there is a dual nature. So you see how on one hand it is being described as bringing about change in the form of creating something new. But what is it creating? It's creating storms. So the imagery of the approaching storm is described over here or depicted over here through the metaphor of locks of hair. Just as locks of hair, they start flying when the wind blows, that is almost similar to the arrival of spring. The wind is also described as the dirge. The word dirge means a funeral song, turning the night into a vast sepulchre. The vaulted dome symbolizes the gathered storm clouds with the potential for rain, fire, and hail to burst out. In stanza 3, the speaker gives credit to the wind for waking the blue Mediterranean from its dreams. The speaker describes a dreamlike vision of old places and towers which are shaking or quivering within the waves. The use of coil suggests the gentle winding of the streams of water. The sea imagery over here emphasizes the power of wind to influence even large water bodies of water. The description of the palaces overgrown with moss and flowers adds that romantic element that is seen typically in romantic poetry. The wind's influence on the Atlantic is depicted in the poem, causing it to cleave into chasms, that is, to divide things into two, affecting the sea blooms and the oceanic overgrowth. So the mention of the sea suddenly growing grey with fear personifies the nature's response to wind. In stanza 4, the speaker imagines being carried by the wind in various forms, that is, as a dead leaf, a swift cloud, or a wave. The desire to be lifted by wind emphasizes the quality of wanting to be untamed, to be free, to be proud of what the speaker is. So it reflects on the contrast between the present and the carefree days of boyhood, when the idea of keeping pace with the wind seemed achievable for the speaker. This request for the wind to lift the speaker as a wave, a leaf, or a cloud highlights a desire to be relieved from the challenges and thorns of life. I fall upon the leaves, thorns of life I bleed. This is a very famous line written by Shelly. So the heavy weight of hours symbolizes the burden of life, the burden of time that has tied down, chained, and bowed the speaker, contrasting it at the same time with the untamed, the uncontrolled natural world of the wind. In stanza 5, the speaker asks the wind to make him its lyre, comparing himself to a falling leaf. The falling leaves are similar to the leaves of the forest, emphasizing a connection between the speaker and nature. The wind's harmonies are described as being powerful, that is, it is capable of producing a deep tone of the autumn season. The speaker over here requests the wind to be his guiding spirit, to drive his thoughts across the universe like the withered or the decayed leaves, which when they fall to the ground, there is no destination. It just moves about aimlessly and it can move to another place anytime. And at the same time, the fact that the leaves have fallen prompt for a new beginning. So the incantation of the verse is seen as a magical act that will scatter the speaker's words like ashes and sparks. The metaphor of an unextinguished hearth suggests the enduring nature of the speaker's words spreading among the mankind. That is the power of art. Once a poetry is written, it was written in the year 1819 and we are still discussing it in the present, in the year 2023. So the trumpet of the prophecy in the final lines highlights the cyclical nature of seasons with the inevitability of spring following winter. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? Another important line of the poem. So majorly we see that the poem explores four themes. Firstly, the power of nature, how nature has immense power that can be seen through the activities of the west wind to be able to be destroy and renew at the same time. Secondly, it talks about the concept of the sublime, capturing the awe-inspiring and transcendent aspect of nature. That is, the speaker is in awe of the west wind for its power and wants to unite with the west wind in the natural world. Thirdly, there is an aspiration or a hope for change, because Shelley wanted to change, to bring about a change on social, political and personal level, and that is what he's saying over here, that he is feeling burdened by the present state of life that he is in, and he wishes to unite with the wind in the natural world. And lastly, we also see the cyclical nature of life, that is the seasons, the natural phenomena, emphasize the idea of how there is a scope for constant change and renewal, which is interconnected with life, because in life also nothing remains constant. Time does not wait for everyone. You will see a change. No one day is similar to the next day, or whatever you did in celebrating festivals last year, no matter how much you try to follow the rituals as it is, nothing is going to be the same as it was in the previous scenario. So therefore we see Ode to the West Wind highlights Shelley's mastery of combining natural imagery with philosophical reflections. The poem not only captures the essence of the Romantic era, but also talks about topics which are universal in nature, that is human desire for change and the cyclical nature of life. So that's it from this video. I hope you liked it. Do hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel for more such future updates. Thank you for watching. Bye.